everybody, and thank you for joining us here today. With me, I have two wonderful women from two different parts of the world. We've got Laura from Africa, and we've got Evelyn from Singapore, and I'm based in the UK. So you're getting to see three different parts of the world here. Thank you so much to you, Evelyn, and to you, Laura, for joining us here today. I'm sure our audience are going to be very excited to, listen to both of you talk about your career, talk about different challenges, and even get some hints and tips on how they can shape their career. So I'm going to start with you first, Evelyn, if that's okay.
Yep, sure.
All right. So would you like to share a little bit about your career? How did you get to where you are today? What are some of the key highlights? And share a little bit about it with us.
Sure. I guess first and foremost, thank you very much for inviting myself to talk about this. So it's a big honor. So let's see. I think I've been in the kind of technology and cyber field a mix now for over about 15 years, I say. And really, I kind of came into this by chance because when I first started, it was technology risk, cyber risk was still at kind of its initial stages. My background's actually in accounting, so I didn't really have any training, and technology was kind of an unknown to me. What was really interesting and what was really helpful though was the opportunity that I was given. So I was offered the opportunity to take up a role in the technology risk team. And from there, actually, my interest and passion on cybersecurity, on information security kind of grew from there. Some of the key highlights, I guess, I would say when I first started, it was given the infancy and kind of, everybody wasn't exactly certain as to where technology risk, where information security risk would really land. It was a very interesting field, but at the same time, the unknowns were the unknowns. So, there was a lot of learning. It was a very steep learning curve. I was very fortunate in the initial stages to actually be able to find great female mentors along my journey to kind of help me. And one of them stood out. She's a really experienced lady. She was really strong. She knew her stuff, and she had a real interest in kind of helping me to develop along the career. So she pointed me in the right directions, and she told me basically, there's no silly questions. So ask what you don't know, and people will guide you from there.
Wow, that is incredible. And what a journey, right? You started, you were an accountant and switching gears and moving to cybersecurity. So I think it's a message that you're providing to everybody listening is that you don't have to start your career in security, or you don't really need a background. You can still shape your career and do wonders like you've done. And I like the fact that you added a little bit of key advice as well, mentoring. And I completely agree with you on that, Evelyn, because I felt the same too. I had so many mentors, and I still have a lot of mentors who guided me and helped me when I was stuck. So I feel that is a very, very important part of anyone's career, right? So, audience, I really
Totally
hope you're
agree.
picking up on this. Thank you. All right, moving on to you, Laura. Tell us a little bit about your career and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity to share. I think as a woman in the cybersecurity field, I see a lot of value in hearing other women share about their journey. Because for me also, when I was starting it, there were not many people in the room that were women. So I'm going to start from where I started from. I'm also a chartered accountant, but I started my career in Ernst & Young as an information technology auditor. So I did technology and accounting in my undergrad. I obviously pursued the ACCA certification because everyone was like, that's a big thing to do. And at some point, just like even I used to think, okay, I'm going to be an accountant, then go into finance and etc. And then when I started my career in Ernst & Young, interestingly, there are those who did a lot of support of the people that are doing the financial auditors and those who did core technology audit work that included a little bit of penetration testing and vulnerability assessment. And guess what? The the leadership then, rightly so, because that was also my view, just felt like, okay, first of all, this one is never going to hit the mark on technology or technical stuff, very technical stuff. And it's because I had a mental barrier, because in university and throughout, the perception of cybersecurity was that person in a hood and a hacker. And of all the subjects that I did, even though I did an undergrad in IT, I did not like programming. I did not like stuff to do with coding. And there was my first mental barrier. But then over time, I moved on to another organization as an IT auditor, then to another financial institution where I actually worked there for quite some time as a regional head of technology audits. And then I transitioned into a country acting head of audit, and I was able to just see the entire business in totality. And that's where I appreciated that sometimes there's a disconnect between the language that the technology teams speak and how it lands, especially in boardrooms and to executives, and how it's linked to strategy. And similar to Evelyn, I had a career sponsor who then actually told me that, why are you insisting on this path? And this area that you're actually good at, and when you speak, people listen and understand, you're running away from it. For me, it was by chance, and I got somebody who had a bigger vision for me than I had it for myself as a career sponsor. Now, the interesting thing for me is that this person actually happened to be a man. And that was so crucial for me, because in a career where the Africa statistics is, at any point in time, we have currently less than, out of any 100 cybersecurity professionals, less than 9 are women. So you'd find yourself the only woman in a meeting of 10, or and that's on a good day. On a bad day, you could be the only one in that room in a meeting of 20 people. But it took somebody, a male ally, to actually open that door and say, you know what, let her come in and have a seat. And yes, the theme is around International Women's Day, but it's really important to appreciate the value of having that one person that will open that room that has very few women to have more women coming in. So that's my story.
Wow, what an amazing story, Laura. And even as you were saying, I got goosebumps there. It's really an incredible story there. And you're so right, because we need men to be supportive of this. We need men to realize that, when there is a gap, we need them to stand next to us and help us and support us. And kudos to that person who really saw that, that there was a gap and helped you come through. Otherwise, if we don't have people like this, it's really difficult. And really proud of you and all the work that you've done, Laura. So it's an amazing story. I mean, both of you should talk more about this, and maybe even write up a blog or do a little story about your individual careers, because this is incredible, absolutely amazing. So hats off to both of you. I will have a follow-up question for you, Laura, which is, I think you already touched on some of the challenges, and I can really see that you're touching on some of the challenges. And we are here today not just to celebrate achievements, we are here to talk about some real challenges that we are facing today. So on that note, Laura, I'm sure you've had many challenges along the way, or even you're probably dealing with a few right now as part of your role. You've done a lot of roles in the past, and I liked one of the things that you highlighted, which is the transition or the way to communicate, with a developer or to a board member. It's completely different, right? When you're relaying a message to a board of director or to senior leaders, it has to come across differently. And that is, again, another, I think, mentoring tip for everybody listening. But back to the challenges, would you like to share a little bit about some of the challenges and how you try to overcome it, or are there still some open problems which you're trying to find solutions for? Laura, over to you.
Exactly. Yeah, thanks. And that's an excellent question, because obviously I've talked about the big one around being the only woman in the room. Now, what I didn't mention is that I've been working for the last 18 years. So initially, when I just started getting very much into the cybersecurity conversation, there were very few women in the room. And then we do know the technical jargon situation that happens when you have a lot of technical subject matter experts in the room. So being afraid to say I don't know, that was a big challenge. But with the help of mentors and also sponsors and allies, they would tell me later on that, you have valid points and valid thoughts, but you're hesitating to speak them up. And sometimes it's okay to say, can you clarify that for me? I don't know. And if there's one message I can tell everyone who's trying to get into any new area, regardless of whether it's cybersecurity, there is so much liberation in putting up your hand and saying, I don't know. Because then that expectation comes down. You don't feel like you have to keep on acting like I know and I'm on top of this. And then you're comfortable because you're already vulnerable. What's the most somebody can throw to you that you don't know? You've already declared that you don't know. So then everyone then starts to see you as a person who wants to learn. And you'll be surprised at how many people put up their hands to explain to you and to teach you. So that was a big challenge. And it's something that sometimes I noticed that people associate saying I don't know with looking like you're not competent. Once you dissociate the two, then your journey becomes easier. The other challenge that I had was maybe judging myself so hard, like wanting to make sure that by the time I'm taking part in the conversations, because I already had it in my mind that I'm dealing with people that have done this thing for a long time. Can I then be able to raise my voice? But I noticed that everyone has value they're bringing into the room. So for me, having done stuff that was a little softer on cybersecurity, maybe a little bit on technology and on business, I was able to bring in the strategic side of business into it. And into the conversations, I was able to bring in, what does this mean for business? Can you maybe talk about business terms? Can you position it this way so that the business can be able to appreciate it? And that worked for me because eventually I found myself being reached out to actually train the boards on what is cybersecurity about. And an empowered board is then able to ask you the right kind of questions and helps everyone achieve their objective and to grow. So for me, it then required me to appreciate that there is something you bring into the table, and also open my eyes that yes, I may not do the penetration testing of the hacking. If you brought to me a system and asked me to hack, I would not be able to do it. But I can contribute in a conversation on policy, in a conversation on standards, in a conversation on how does this tie in with doing right by the customer? How does this tie in with consumer protection? Because of that business angle, how does this tie in with regulatory expectations? So just being able to identify how can the skill and the strength that I have contribute to uplift this conversation on cybersecurity, and appreciate that everyone's path is different. The person who's good in penetration testing is good, and they're an expert in their own right. But even you, with the insights that you're bringing in, there's something meaningful that you can contribute to the conversation from a different angle, and that's okay. The beauty with cybersecurity, even if you look at the global World Economic Forum reports or ISC squared reports, they do say that at the moment you have a 4 million capacity constraint. We have about 4 million vacant roles that need to be filled in. So there's room for everyone. You don't have to hog everything. So I think I'll pause there because you can see clearly I'm passionate about it and I can go on and on and on and on, Yeah.
True. No, absolutely. And what interesting perspectives there on the challenges and how we can deal with it. I want to just add one point to what you said, Laura, around saying that I don't know. I had this in my career as well. And what I saw personally is, it's difficult to say I don't know, because in a room full of people, if you're the expert or go-to, then the expectation is all the answers. But then I've had situations where I've just said, sorry, I don't know. But then I go back to them with the clarification, with the answers. And I've seen that over the years, that has helped me build a lot of reputation with them. And they've then turned to me as a trusted advisor. So I really think your challenge there and the recommendation is absolutely right, because I am an example of that too. Saying I don't know, but then going back, doing research, and then going back with the absolutely right answers, or helping them understand the problem better, builds a level of credibility, and your reputation goes up, and they value more about what you say, rather than just fluffing about in that meeting just for the sake of it. It's better to say it up front. So I completely agree with you on that, Laura. Evelyn, I will come back to you with the same question. were there some specific challenges that you encountered in your career, and would you like to talk a little bit about that to the audience today?
Sure. So I what Laura has said earlier totally resonates with me. I think a lot of it, I think one of the things that I find is women tend to be really hard on ourselves. So a lot of times, before going into any meeting or anything like that, it's a lot of preparatory work that we put in. At the same time, we are always questioning, do we know enough? Have we done enough? Although sometimes, we might very well have overdone it, or we might already know exactly what we needed to do, but yet sometimes we lack the confidence to say it out. We lack the confidence to be able to present ourselves, especially when we are in a room full of people, usually men, who may be louder than us, who might talk over us in some instances, and it's that confidence which really brought out. So even for myself, I would say even when I go into meetings, which predominantly we have quite a few cyber experts around, regardless of whether it's related to penetration testing, whether it's related to things like cyber threats, etc. It's being able to express your thoughts, even when in a room full of people who are, busy trying to talk over themselves, being able to express your thoughts clearly and articulate and be very eloquent about it. I think that's key. One of the instances that kind of experience that I personally experienced was, I think, a couple of years ago, when I was invited to a meeting and lots of senior managers around. Everybody was busy trying to express their opinion, and being the only female in the room, it was quite difficult for me to be able to be heard, because they were trying to talk over each other, and I was like, maybe I should take a step back. But then I sort of think about it myself, and I was like, you know what? I do have a voice. I do have my opinion, and I need to voice it out, because it's not it's not that my opinion is less valuable than everybody else. But at the same time, if you don't have something to express an opinion for that's valuable, you don't need to force the issue, and you'll be fine to say, yes, I agree with whatever's being said. I don't have anything else to add.
Absolutely. Interesting perspective again there from you, Evelyn. And yeah, sometimes it so happens that people in the room are much louder than you, and they take over the conversation. There are always some dominant characters, right, who take over the whole conversation, and then you think that oh, should I say or not? But great piece of advice there, and I think that's the best way to overcome this hurdle, isn't it? You have a voice, you have an opinion, and you think that you can make a valid point. You just go ahead and make that point. So absolutely, I think it's really inspiring to hear some of the challenges and the way to deal with the challenges as well that both of you have highlighted today. I'm sure there's a lot that the audience are going to take from this panel, from both of you, Evelyn and Laura. We are coming to the end of the time, so I'm really sorry. I'd like to go on and keep chatting, but before I let you both go, I have one question to both of you. And Evelyn, I'll start with you. For anybody that's listening today, listening to this, and want to start their career in cybersecurity, I know both of you tried to give some tips and hints and advice in your previous answers as well. But is there anything in particular that you'd like to share as a piece of advice, as a mentor to all of the women that are listening out there today who want to start or shape a career in cybersecurity? Evelyn?
I would say, don't be afraid to take the opportunity, even when it's something different. You never know what might come along thereafter, and you never know if you don't try it. You'll always stay in the safe zone. Another thing is to embrace any changes, because I think even the technology and cybersecurity world is constantly evolving, and you will never know every single thing. So don't be afraid to ask questions.
That is an incredible piece of advice. And I hope listeners, you are taking the advice that Evelyn has just provided to you, because it will take you a long way. So thank you, Evelyn, for that. Laura, I will ask you the same question. Any advice, any tips and hints from you based on your career, your experience, to all of the listeners out there?
Yeah, thank you. I don't think I could even articulate it any better than Evelyn, but just to re-emphasize what Evelyn has said, I think just one statement: whether you believe you can or you believe you cannot, whatever it is, you're correct. So if you put that barrier in your mind that you cannot do anything, you will not be able to do it. So at the end of the day, in my experience, I've observed that passion and attitude always trump academic ability. So if you're passionate about what you're doing and you have an attitude of continuous learning, which Evelyn has talked about, and continuous improvement, at any point in time, you're better than that one that has gone to class and gotten the papers. Because the nature of cybersecurity, just like the legal profession, it's ever changing. You have to keep on reading about it. Today, I cannot say that the knowledge I had 6 years ago still remains applicable and now I'm done with reading. No. But the thing that makes me continue to improve is because it's something I'm passionate about, so much that when I'm reading and researching on it, even outside of work hours, it does not feel like I'm working. So that's the nature of cybersecurity. Finally, there are myriad opportunities. The playground is so big, there's no scarcity. There are so many things you can do within cybersecurity, whether it's being an advocate on child sexual abuse, which touches actually on harassment online when it's being done online, whether you want to start to educate the vulnerable people so that you uplift financial inclusion through digital tools, whether you want to be the person who educates children on safety online, whether you want to be the person who teaches in university, whether you want to support the government in their cybersecurity or cyber diplomacy policy and direction, whether you want to actually be a contributor to thought leadership, whether you want to help with regulatory engagements, whether you want to be the hacker behind the scenes, there are so many opportunities available. It's up to you to decide what you want to pick up on. So that would be my advice. Thank you.
That is a great piece of advice, Laura. And you kind of laid out the land for them, for people listening. You know, there is opportunity for everybody, and the playground is really large, and there's no scarcity. So on that note, I'm going to take this opportunity to thank you both, two incredible women today with me. And it's a privilege and an honor for me to be sharing the stage with both of you, Evelyn and Laura. Thank you so much for your time today. And I wish you both all the success in everything that you're going to be doing in the future. And I am sure that whatever you do, you're going to make an impact. So I wish you all the very best. And thank you so much for your time today. Thank you, Evelyn. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you
Thank
both.
you.
Thank you.